Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, I am going to initiate past paper discussion for your first term examination. I think we have almost covered our syllabus. I think only 2 minutes are remaining. So as we planned in the last class, on Saturdays we will do or we will study the books or theoretical parts. On Sundays we will do past paper discussion so that before the examination we can cover everything. Okay, so without further ado, uh, let me stop the video. After that, I will share my screen. Okay, right. Now, um, now I'm going to explain you the past paper which was held in 2019 in Northwestern Province, right? So here, uh, you have part one and part two. So part one will consist of 25 MCQ questions. Okay, okay. So the instructions are given here. So answer all the questions on the paper itself. So these are MCQ questions. So underline the most suitable answer from question number 1 to 5. So there will be 4 responses. Out of the 4 responses, you have to select the most appropriate one. Okay, right. And for the first part, for the part one, you will be given 1 mark for each question. So you have to be very careful while answering, right? So here I have opened your book. So here and your past paper. So after reading the question, we are going to extract the answer from your book itself. Right. So first, let me read the first question. What is the name of the microbial activity based on food, like fish and meat? So the very first question is asked from the first unit. The first unit is importance of microorganisms. So importance of microorganisms. We studied about microorganisms, effect on microorganisms on food, impact of microorganisms on human and their activities. So let me give you a quick review of what we have studied in in unit one. Okay. So importance of microorganisms. So microorganisms are a type of organism. So under organisms, we study, okay, under organisms, we have plants, animals, and microorganisms. We can see plants and animals with our naked eye, but without the help of a microscope, with our naked eye, we can't see or we can't observe microorganisms, right? So here they have given the definition of microorganisms. This is very important. So in the structured essay questions, you might be asked to write the definition of microorganisms. What are microorganisms? The unicellular, uni means single. So single cell or multicellular, multi means multiple, more than one, which cannot be observed clearly by naked eye. So this is important. With our naked eye, we can't see microorganisms. We need a microscope. Okay, right. So these microorganisms can be observed clearly through microscopes. So we need microscope. We need microscope. Microorganisms found in every habitat on the earth. So here in this paragraph, they have mentioned the habitat or the where the microorganisms are living, right? Okay. Now here they have given some examples for microorganisms. We have bacteria, fungi, uh, protozoa. These are some examples for microorganisms. Right, bacteria is also a microorganisms. It is an algae species. So here we have fungal variety, mucor, amoeba, paramecium. Right. So here, this is a virus, but virus depicts both the properties of living things and non-living things. So here they have mentioned virus show living features as well as non-living features. Although viruses are discussed under microorganisms, we can discuss viruses under microorganisms, but there is no conclusion whether they are living things or non-living things because they depict more both properties, both living properties and non-living properties. Okay, right. So after that, we studied the effects of microorganisms. Right? So under effects of microorganisms, we have benefits as well as harms. Right? So after that, this is the question. So this is the page from which you can get the answer for the first question. So microbial activities depend on the type of food. So here we have three microbial activities. The first one is fermentation. What is fermentation? Fermentation is a chemical change because of the action of yeast or bacteria, often changing to it, sugar is changed to alcohol in fermentation process, right? So the next one is putrefaction. So putrefaction is simply rotting, right? So putrefaction is simply rotting. For example, putrefaction means the process of decaying. It means rotting, decaying. Especially it occurs on dead bodies, right? And the third one is rancidity. Rancidity, or for example, if a food containing fat which is rancid, it tastes or smell unpleasant because they are no longer fresh, right? So these are the three processes that you need to remember. So here, fermentation, it is a microbial activity. Okay, microbial activity. Putrefaction, yeah, that is also microbial activity. And rancidity, yeah, that is also microbial activity. You can see both microbial activity, all these three microbial activity occur on food, on food, on food. So these phrases are common for these three. But here, fermentation occur on foods high in sugar. So you have to highlight this. Okay. Fermentation occurs on food high in sugars. And putrefaction, what is? Microbial activity on food high in protein. So it occurs on food which are high in protein. Okay, rancidity, microbial, it is also microbial activity. However, it occurs on food high in fats. So you have to highlight these points, right? So fermentation, you have to remember. Fermentation on sugars, in sugars, or on foods high in sugars. Putrefaction, uh, high in protein. And here rancidity, high in fat. So let me again go to the question. What does it say? What does the question say? What is the name of the microbial activity based on foods like fish and meat? So if you consider fish and meat are high in protein. Okay. So for protein, if you come here, protein. So protein, for example, what are the foods high in protein? Fish, meat, milk. So on these kind of foods, putrefaction occurs. Okay, so the answer is for the first question is this one. This is the answer. Let me annotate. Okay, so the answer is putrefaction. Right. So rancidity is what is rancidity? So you have to study everything. What is rancidity? It is a microbial activity occurs on the food high in fats. Fermentation high in sugars, and food spoilage you have studied. Food spoilage means like if a food spoils, we can't consume it. So that is called food spoilage. Right. Moving to the second question. An example for a plant which is adapted to absorb atmospheric water vapor is. Okay, so I think we didn't study this unit. However, I will teach you, right? Let me go to your book so that. Right. The second question says, example for a plant which is adapted to absorb atmospheric vapor, water vapor is. So this is from the chapter which we haven't studied yet. So the question is asked from, let me go to the content. So this question is asked from this unit. Diversity and functions of plant parts. So diversity means we have already studied diversity of animals. Diversity means variety. Function means it's a work, a particular purpose of something. Plant parts. There are several plant parts. However, we are going to study the diversity and functions of plant leaves. So there are several plant parts, we are going to study the functions and diversity of plant leaves, stems, and roots. Now, let me go to the 24th page. Right. Okay. Now, we haven't studied this unit. We will study inshallah. All right. Now, the answer for the question is given. The answer for the question is orchid. So, orchid absorb moisture from the atmosphere and supply the plant. So that is called absorbing the water vapor in the air. Okay, that is the answer. I'll show you where the answer is. Just by going through your book, you can identify the answer for every question asked in the examination. That's what I wanted to. Right, here you can see these roots absorb aerial roots. Yeah, these roots absorb moisture from the atmosphere and supply the plant. These specialized roots can be found mostly in epiphytes. So epiphytes are the plants that grow on another plant. Okay, so epiphytes. Like epiphytes. So epiphytes means it's a plant. It's a kind of plant that grow on another plant surface, right? So here the answer is orchid. So let me go to the question again. An example for a plant which is adapted to absorb atmospheric water vapor. Atmospheric water vapor means that is moisture. Okay, right. So the answer is orchid. Okay. Right. So an example for a plant which is adapted to absorb atmospheric water vapor is orchid, right? So this is what we want to study. We will study inshallah, right? So here climbing or clasping roots, roots that help the climbing stem creepers to fix to a surface. So for each and every kind of roots, you have to know the examples. For example, respiratory roots. So these roots absorb air from the atmosphere and supply to the plant. So, and the example for these kind of respiratory roots are Sonatia and Mahakado. Okay, right. We will study. You don't need to bother about this question because we haven't studied it. Right. The third question is plant leaf that help to water conservation and propagation is the answer for this question is also asked from that same unit. The answer is aloe, right? Water conservation. So water conservation means storage of right storage of water and propagation. Propagation means it's a reproduction of plants. So propagation means what? Reproduction of plants, producing new plants. Okay, right. Let me go to the book. The answer is here. Right. Here you can read some leaves are adapted to store water. They have become fleshy because they have specialized tissues to conserve water. So the answer is aloe, 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 and acapana. So these are the two examples for the leaves that are adapted to conservation of water. Okay. Right. And in the question, there is another point. What is that? Uh, The example for a plant which is adapted to absorb atmospheric, no, plant leaves that help to water conservation and propagation. So the leaf should propagate. That means the leaf itself should propagate or produce new plants. So the answer is aloe. From the aloe leaf, we can grow another new plant. So that is called propagation. Okay. And the fourth one is a plant which stored food in aerial stem. So that is also from the same unit. Aerial roots. Yeah. Aerial stem. Okay, we have to study the functions and diversity of stems, roots, and leaves. Okay, so stems. So this question is asked about stems. Stems. Let me go to the stems. So this is the classification. Right. So diversity and functions of plant stems. So here you can see aerial stems. Right. Some plants store food in aerial stems. What are the examples? Sugarcane and kitul. Okay. Let me go to the question. So a plant which is stored food in aerial stems. So kitul. Kitul is the answer. And banana is propagative stems. Banana is propagative stems. And carrot, it comes under root, right? So it can be coming, it can come under tap roots. We will study them later. So banana, you can see here, right? About that, here banana. Banana comes under propagative stems. So the stems are known as propagative stems. For example, so these are the examples. So banana also comes under this category. So most stems produce new living tissues, allowing plants to grow and reproduce. So the reproduction of plants are called propagation. Okay. Right. Let me move to the next question. What is the correct answer that shows radially symmetric and bilaterally symmetrical animals in order? So we studied animal diversity, right? So that was the, what is the unit? Okay, before this unit, we studied animal diversity. Okay. Right. Animal classification, sorry. The title of the unit is animal classification. Okay. So here they ask, what is the correct answer that shows radially symmetrical and bilaterally symmetrical animals in order? So the answer should in order, radially symmetrical and bilaterally symmetrical respectively. First, you should select the answer so that the animal which has radially symmetrical axis first and then bilaterally symmetrical. So we studied only uh, Nigeria have so what is that? Radially symmetrical axis. Radially symmetrical axis mean there will be several symmetrical axes. For example, like this. If we take a circle, there will be several symmetrical axes, more than one. Bilaterally mean there will be only one symmetrical axis. Okay, so what is the correct answer? So only Nigeria have here for radially we have Nigeria. So first we need to know the examples for Nigeria. Nigeria, Hydra, sea anemone. So these are the examples. And jellyfish. So Hydra, jellyfish, scorpion. Scorpion doesn't come under what? Nigeria. So the second answer can be eliminated from the responses. And sea anemone. So out of these three, we have to select the answer. So sea anemone. Again, sea anemone also have sea anemone also has radially symmetrical, not bilaterally symmetrical. So we can eliminate this also. Right. Now prawn. Okay, for prawn, we have bilaterally symmetrical. Again, if you look at the fourth answer, again, jellyfish. Jellyfish also a kind cnidaria. So that also has radially symmetrical. So the answer is third one. Okay, so you need to know, you need to refer, or you have to refer the cnidarian. Okay. Right, here you can see we have studied vertebrates, invertebrates. Vertebrates, we classified animals into vertebrates and invertebrates, whether they have backbone or not. So vertebrates mean they have backbone, and invertebrates mean they don't have backbone. So under invertebrates, we have four categories: Cnidaria, Annelida, Mollusca, and Arthropoda. So after that, we studied about Cnidaria. Cnidaria, the animal belong to Cnidaria are predators and they live in water. So predators mean they hunt other animals. For example, lion. Lion is a predator. So for the consumption of, for their own consumption, they hunt other animals. Okay, they hunt and kill other animals. Those are called predators. And they live in water. So all Cnidarian live in water. That is also very important. And here you need to know the example. So I'm just highlighting the important points, right? So Hydra, again, sea anemone, jellyfish. These are the examples for cnidarians. Now, these are the common features. Cnidarians have radially symmetrical body. So the body of cnidaria is radially symmetrical. That means if the body of an animal can be divided into two equal halves along several axes. For example, I explained you using a circle, right? Okay. So if we take a circle, we can divide into identical portions, identical semicircles through several axes along its, okay, right. Now this is called radially symmetrical body. Okay, right. Then the second point is there are two forms of cnidarians. One is polyps and the other one is medusa. Okay. The first one is polyps and the other one is medusa. Polyps are fixed to the substrate. So they are fixed, they don't move and lead a sedentary life, while medusa are free floating and organisms. So polyps, you have to study like this, right? So polyps are fixed to the substrate and lead a sedentary life. I should use the same color which I used for polyps. Now, medusa. Medusa are free-floating organisms. Okay, these are the important things that you should remember. Let me use the same color. Okay, now you can identify. Polyps. Cnidarians have two forms. One is polyps and the second one is medusa. Polyps are fixed to the substrate and lead a sedentary life. Okay, again, medusa are free floating. They polyps don't move, but medusa moves, right? So free floating animals. For example, for medusa, jellyfish is a perfect example. Okay, right. Now this third point is they right. The third point is they cripple small creatures with their special tentacles having cnidocytes and use them as food. So these are called, this is the structure of cnidaria. So they have organelle called tentacles like our hand, by which they grab the small creatures, right? And here they have mouth, and so tentacles produces a substance called cnidocytes, having cnidocytes, and these are called special tentacles. So this is a special organelle by which they grab the small creatures and cripple them. Cripple them means they will kill and eat them. Okay, right. Here, after that, there is a point. The coral polyps belong to the Cnidaria group, build up coral reefs. So coral polyps, so polyps, so coral reefs are also a best example for polyps. Okay, coral polyps. Right. After that, we studied about Annelida, mollusca, arthropoda. Okay. After that, we moved to in main vertebrates groups. So under vertebrates, we have 5 groups: Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, Mammalia. So from the question, what you have to understand is you need to know the examples for each group and the special features of those groups, right? So you have to go through again and again. You have to go through the book again and again because nobody can predict in which chapter or in which point they will ask you the question. Right. Now let's move to the next question. Right. The non-observable microorganism group under light microscope. So these are the example: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, virus. So these are the examples or the types of microorganisms. So we can't observe microorganism with our naked eye. Definitely we need a what? Microscope. But bacteria, fungi, protozoa, these groups can be observed using a light microscope. But for observing virus, we need electron microscope. So the answer is virus. Okay. So here the answer is jellyfish. Okay, we have studied. Now, for the 6th question, the answer is virus. Right. So this question is also asked from the first unit. Let me go to that page and show you where the answer is. What I want to tell you is, if you thoroughly read your book, you can crack the examination. You can obtain 100 marks in your term examination because the examiner is not going to take anything apart from your book. Yeah. So these organisms can be observed clearly through microscopes. Right. Here they have told viruses can be observed through electron microscope. So this is also important. For observing microscope, we need what? We need electron microscope. So viruses cannot be clearly observed by through what? Our normal light microscope. Right. Let me move to the next question. We have studied. Okay. What is the group of animal which shows both forms of polyps and medusa? Again, like this. Here from the Cnidarian group. What is the group of animal which shows both forms of polyps and medusa? What is the answer? Cnidaria. Annelida, clearly the answer is Cnidaria. Okay. So Cnidaria have 2 forms, polyps and medusa. Polyps are fixed and they lead a sedentary lifestyle. Again, medusa are free-floating organisms. Okay. Okay. So what is the group of animal which shows both forms of polyps and medusa? The answer is Cnidaria. Right. Moving to the 8th question. A harmful effect of microorganisms is, so this is also coming from the first unit. decompose dead plant and animal matter. So this is not a harmful effect. This is a beneficial effect. So microorganisms cause both beneficial effects and harmful effects. So this is one of the benefits of microorganisms. Control pests. So microorganisms, some kind of microorganisms control pests. So that is also a benefit used in bakery products. So while we are preparing bread from a duck, the process or the function of what is that microorganism is very important. For example, yeast, we used yeast is also a microorganism and cause adverse effect on economy because of the fungal growth on the surface of object. So this is the answer. So the main harmfulness or harmful effects are causing diseases, food spoilage, and economical effects due to the growth of fungus on the surface of objects. So let me go to the page in your book to explain you it's clear. Yeah. Here, effects of microorganisms on food. So that is also okay. So here, effects of microorganisms on foods. This one. Right. So impacts of microorganisms on human and their activities. Beneficial effects on microorganisms. So beneficial effects. So there is a list: producing cake, producing yogurt, producing cheese from milk products. So this is also a kind of benefits. And bakery products and producing antibiotics and vaccines. So vinegar production. Food, mushrooms. Mushroom is also a kind of microorganisms. Making compost from dead animals and plants. Also we can produce compost. Okay, producing biogas, quite interesting. So in these kind of activities, the prevalence of microorganisms are wide. Okay, right. Here harmful effects. So these are the harmful effects. Food spoilage. In the structured essay question you might be asked, so you should be able to write. Okay, right? Food spoilage is one of the adverse effects. Again, causing infectious disease for not only men, animals and crops also, and causing economical damage to the clothes and wood and furniture are some of them. Here you can see these are the outputs of fungal growth on furniture and clothes. Okay, right. Again, there are several diseases on animals as well as on human. Here you can see a cow suffering from mastitis. Mastitis means in the udder of the cow, the swelling of udder is called mastitis. Mastitis, right? So here, rabies. So these are the examples. Here also there are several diseases. You have to study them. You have to remember them. So virus, common cold. So for each and every kind of microorganism, they cause specific diseases. For example, common cold, dengue, AIDS are caused by viruses. And for each and everything, they have given the example. Okay, right. Moving to the next question. Right. The factors which can be considered as the factors that control the functioning of microbials on the food keeping in the refrigerators are. So there are two factors that contribute to the growth of microorganisms. If we control them, we can avoid the harmful effects of microorganisms. The factors are nothing but moisture and temperature. So if we keep a food inside the refrigerator, we control these two things. We reduce the moisture and the temperature so that we can protect our food. Okay. I think this is also mentioned in your book. Everything is mentioned. Okay, here you can see. Yeah. But if the food is refrigerated the microbial activity is minimized because the amount of moisture and temperature are controlled in a refrigerator. So here, moisture and temperature. Here you can see everything is asked from your book, not from outside, right? Moisture and temperature. Because in Sri Lanka, not only in Sri Lanka, all around the world, education is examination only. So if you want to pass the examination, just go through your book thoroughly. Okay, moisture and temperature are the factors that contribute to microbial activity. Food spoils rapidly at room temperature. So in the refrigerator, the temperature is lower than the room temperature, and so that the foods are protected. Okay? Right. Moving to the next. Okay. What the factors? Okay, we have done that. Right. Right. The 10th question, the element of carbon dioxides are, right. Here, this is where we have started this unit, I guess. So the elements mean in chemistry, a simple chemical substance that consists of atoms of only one type of atom, one type, and cannot be split by chemical reactions. That is the definition of element. For example, if you take carbon, this is the simple chemical substance. And, elements are composed of atoms. Okay, right. Now, here hydrogen is an atom. Carbon is an atom. Hydrogen, again here, this hydrogen is also an atom. Nitrogen is also an atom. You should know the symbols as well. So for hydrogen, we use H, right? So for hydrogen, we use H, not simple H, capital H. Again, for nitrogen, we use capital N. For carbon, we use capital K. And for oxygen, we use capital O. Okay, right. So the chemical formula of carbon dioxide is CO2. CO CO2. So here you can see what are the elements present in carbon dioxide. They are carbon and oxygen. There are one carbon and two oxygen in a single carbon dioxide molecule. Okay, so the answer should be carbon and oxygen, the second answer. Okay, moving to the next question. Right here, the 11th question says the mass of a unit volume of a given substance is, okay, I need to make sure that the right here, the mass of a unit volume of a given substance is, right. So here the answer is density, right? So there is an equation called, you will study in the upcoming classes, I guess. Density or D is equal to mass over V. Okay, so the mass of a unit volume, divided by volume is density. So the answer is density. Okay, I think this should be in the unit which we are studying right now. Properties of matter. Here they have for the previous question, before this question, 11th one, 10th one, carbon dioxide, elements present, carbon, oxygen. Here, copper sulfate. In copper sulfate, there are copper. In sulfate, SO4 2 minus. SO4 2 minus means there are sulfur and oxygen. Oxygen. And sodium chloride. Sodium chloride means the symbol, chemical formula is NaCl. NaCl. We will study this, right? I think we haven't studied this. We have just initiated the unit. In sodium chloride, there are sodium and chlorine. And sodium hydroxide. In sodium hydroxide, the symbol, the formula is NaOH. So we have sodium, hydrogen, and oxygen. And calcium carbonate means calcium, CO3 2 minus. Carbonate means CO3 2 minus. So calcium carbonate means CaCO3. Okay, I will tell you the chemical formula so that you can easily identify the elements present in each compound. So calcium, carbon, and oxygen. So, okay, water. Water means this is simply H2O. So we have hydrogen and oxygen. H2O, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. I can't find. Here you can see density. Density. Yeah, right. Here they have directly given the definition. Right here you can see density is the mass of a unit volume of a given substance. So you can see they directly ask questions from your book only. So density is the mass of a unit volume of a given substance. So directly you can find the answer. Right. Here, the answer which containing both element and compound. So, elements are composed of atoms and compounds are composed of elements. So, by combining more than one element, we can produce compound. So, sulfur means S. So, that is a element. Again, water is H2O. That is a compound. So, directly the answer is the first one. Again, if you look at the second one, water is a compound, and ammonia means NHC, that is also a compound. So the answer cannot be the second one. And salt means there are several salts. For example, NaCl, sodium chloride is a salt. So here we have salt is also a compound, right? Again, water itself is also a compound. Again, sulfur and carbon. Here, sulfur and carbon both are elements. So the answer is 1. Right. With that, I'm going to stop the video. And from the 13th question, we will study or we will do the discussion in person in the class. Okay. So here I have just shown you how I'm going to teach you the past paper discussion classes from next week. Inshallah, we will study the questions from 13 on Saturday, on Sunday. Okay, we will study the theoretical parts on Saturday, and from Sunday we will start from the 13th. Okay, thank you. And if you find this video useful, you can share this video with your friends who don't come with your friends who don't come to our classes. They also, because this is not a competitive examination like A level, so everybody can get some idea from this explanation and study.